Hey y'all, Amanda here from Recipes Worth Repeating, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make these Asian lettuce wraps. They're perfect for lunch, they're perfect for a light dinner, and they're also really good for a snack or even an appetizer. If you've ever been to P.F. Chang's and you've had their lettuce wraps for an appetizer, this recipe is really similar, but it's different enough that I want to take some time to call out the ingredients so that you know exactly what's going into these lettuce wraps before we make them on the stove. So let's start with the meats. You have an option here. You can do ground beef, you can do ground turkey, or you can do ground chicken. I'm going to use ground beef today. I've just been on a red meat kick here lately, so I really wanted to make these with ground beef. But I've made them with ground chicken, I've made them with ground turkey, I've made them with ground beef, and they're delicious, super flavorful no matter your meat choice. I've got 2 pounds of ground beef here. This is 93% lean. You can use an 85% lean, you can use an 80% lean, totally up to you. If you do that, it's definitely going to provide more fat, but that fat is going to give you more flavor. But I'm trying to keep things a little lean here, a little bit more healthy. So we're using today 93% lean ground beef. To make the sauce, I'm using a soy sauce and I'm using a hoisin sauce. So the soy sauce is going to add that salty flavor. If you're using a soy sauce that has gluten in it and you're gluten-free, make sure you read those labels because you don't want to use a soy sauce that contains any wheat gluten. Hoisin sauce, if you've never had that before, it's really sweet. So when it pairs with the soy sauce, it just provides this amazing flavor that pairs really well with all the other ingredients. It's like a sweet and salty, kind of like those P.F. Chang lettuce wraps. Also, if you're gluten-free, make sure you read the label for your hoisin sauce because they do make gluten-free brands. Okay, let's talk about crunchy for just a few minutes. So I like to add fresh celery. We're gonna chop that up. I also like to add sliced water chestnuts. If you think about those P.F. Chang's lettuce wraps, you taste something crunchy, that's the water chestnuts. They come in whole and they come in sliced. So make sure you do yourself a favor. You'll save yourself a lot of effort if you buy this sliced. I also use sliced almonds. Again, that's adding to the crunchy. We put that in the sauce, we put that in the meats. There's a lot of different flavors out there when you buy packaged sliced almonds. I'm choosing today to use unsalted toasted, but they've got honey roasted, they've got oven roasted. So choose the flavor that you like, but this is my favorite flavor. Let's talk a little bit about the flavor and where that robust flavor comes from. And it's from your ginger root and it's from your garlic cloves. My recommendation is to use fresh ginger roots and fresh garlic cloves. You could buy a jar version or a tube version of the ginger root, but you'll get so much more flavor if you use the roots and the garlic cloves. I also like to use just actually about a cup of the onions. I'm gonna chop them up and slice them up pretty finely, and then we're gonna add that to the sauce. It adds a really nice onion flavor that pairs incredibly well with all of these ingredients. And then we're gonna use an olive oil to saute a lot of these ingredients. And while you can use just regular olive oil, if you have a flavored olive oil, definitely grab that. I'm gonna use today a roasted garlic because it pairs extremely well with the ingredients that we're using. So it just adds a little bit more flavor. But again, you can use olive oil, it doesn't have to be flavored. So once we make these lettuce wraps and they're all done and they're ready to be served, you can add, and I'm gonna add, a little bit of the red pepper flakes. I don't like spicy food. However, the hoisin sauce is pretty sweet. And so when you pair it with the salty and then you pair it with just a little bit of heat, it's amazing flavor-wise. So we're gonna add a little bit of red pepper flakes. And then we're gonna serve them in lettuce. We're actually going to use today Boston lettuce. So I just went ahead and I bought fresh head of Boston lettuce because if you take this apart, the leaves are like the perfect size to make a wrap. You can also use butter lettuce. You can also use green leaf lettuce. You can use romaine lettuce. But Boston lettuce is incredibly tender and crisp and refreshing, fabulous with this recipe. So those are the ingredients that we're gonna use. So let's start chopping some of these ingredients and then we'll start making our lettuce wraps. So let's start by chopping some of our fresh vegetables. I'm gonna start with the celery. So you're gonna need about a cup of chopped celery. So I've got 5 stalks here. What we're gonna do first, we're just gonna cut the ends off, both sides. Try to get them a little flat. I'm gonna chop 2 stems at a time. You really want these to be more bite-sized, kind of diced, but a little bit smaller, so that when you're biting into the lettuce wrap, you're not biting into a big piece of celery. So once you've got your stalks cut, I just like to dice them with a knife. Nice small bite-sized pieces. Now, let me show you a trick. While you can definitely slice those with a knife, if you have a vegetable chopper, then you can also use that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show you how I use my vegetable chopper just to get these into the bite-sized pieces. So it takes a lot of time when you're using a knife. If you have a vegetable chopper, you saw how fast that was. This is about the size that you want. So once you get all of your celery chopped, again, you're gonna need about a cup, then place it into a bowl and set it aside. Next, we're gonna dice a fresh red pepper. So make sure you guys have good chopping knives. My husband surprised me the other day with brand new chopping block knives. They're absolutely fantastic. And it makes life so much easier when you're chopping fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. So again, we're gonna use the entire red pepper. When you slice into it, you're gonna remove the seeds and the stem. And then, like I said a few minutes ago, you can go ahead and use your knife to slice and then dice, right? Definitely worth doing if you have the time. But again, if you have a chopper, definitely use it because it's going to save you some time. And I love the consistency of the peppers and the celery when I'm able to chop it, because when you put it in the lettuce wraps, it blends nicely and it's not like I'm biting into a huge bite of pepper, a huge bite of celery. So get your chopper if you have one and start chopping those red peppers. So after the red pepper is chopped, then you're going to slice your green onions. And I use the entire green onion. I love the green part and I love the white part, but you want to discard this part right here. Definitely don't want to eat that. Well, I mean, you could, but it doesn't taste very good. So what I do is when I chop the green onions, just go ahead, chop a little bit off, discard those. And then think about scallions on baked potatoes at the restaurants. That's kind of the size that you want these when you're chopping them. Again, you're gonna use the entire green onions. And I've got 4. You need about a cup. So go ahead and get those chopped finely. You can't use your chopper for this. It turns them into a really weird consistency. So I just always do a quick little slice, chop. Then I go ahead and I just place them in a little dish. And then I set them aside. So after the onions are sliced, next, you're gonna work on your ginger root. So when you buy a ginger root, it still should have the peeling on. And it's very bitter when you eat the peeling. So I always like to take a vegetable peeler and just peel that off when I'm making this dish. You're gonna need about 1.5 tablespoons of fresh chopped ginger roots. So go ahead and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can leave a little bit of the skin on, but do your best to get as much off as you can. And again, it should be a pretty easy process. You can also use a knife if you just want to cut it off, but I really like handy dandy little kitchen tools. They make my life easier. So I am using my vegetable peeler. So after I get it all peeled, I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this little piece off. This is gonna be about 1.5 tablespoons. You can definitely use your knife to fine chop it. But again, I'm using my chopper because it saves me so much time. So go ahead and get that chopped. And then I'll show you the consistency as soon as it's done. So the size of the ginger root when I chop it is more like this consistency. If you want it a little bit smaller, you can. I like to leave it this size because it adds so much flavor to the dish. And when you bite into a little dice of fresh ginger, you get a zesty flavor in your mouth. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave this, and we're gonna just put this in the dish and set it aside so that when we're making our sauce and our meat mixture, it's ready to go. And the last ingredient that we're going to use here today as we're prepping is garlic. I've got 3 fresh garlic cloves that, again, I'm gonna chop. You can use your knife, finely chop those, no problem, but just for convenience purposes, I'm gonna finely chop my garlic cloves in my vegetable chopper. Garlic adds so much flavor to any dish. So again, you're gonna take the 3 garlic cloves, just put them in a little dish, set them aside, because now we're getting ready to brown the meats and saute the ginger and the garlic and some of the vegetables so that we can get our lettuce wraps ready to prepare. Go ahead and light your burner on the stovetop to medium-high heat. Pour in about 1 tablespoon of olive oil and let that get really hot, about 2 to 3 minutes. Once the skillet's hot, you're gonna go ahead and add in 1 cup of the chopped red bell pepper. Kind of move that around just a little bit. And then add in 1 cup of the chopped celery. You're gonna saute this, again, over medium-high heat for about 2 minutes, just so that the vegetables can start to become tender. And as you can see, you've got a beautiful combination of red and green. Not only is that nutrition, but it's definitely gonna add some flavor to your lettuce wraps. Next, you're gonna add in the 2 pounds of ground beef. And if you're using chicken, ground turkey, totally fine. You're gonna add your meat next. Once that's there, go ahead and add in 1 cup of your sliced green onions, the 1.5 tablespoons of fresh chopped ginger, go ahead and add in it's actually a 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Add in the 3 cloves of fresh chopped garlic. And then 1 can of drained, sliced water chestnuts. The size of this is 5 ounces. You can add more if you'd like, but I think 5 ounces is perfect. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna start browning your meat mixture here and kind of get everything mixed together. And while you're browning the meat, it's gonna take about probably 5 to 7 minutes for the meat to get brown. But once you're done with that, you're not gonna drain the meat. You're gonna actually leave the fat that's coming off the meat in the dish so that it can combine with the juices that's from the red bell pepper, the celery, the garlic, the ginger. And again, that's another reason why I really like to use the 93% lean, is I'm not getting all that fat. It's adding just enough fat to add the flavor that combines really well with all of these ingredients. This is what the meat mixture looks like when it's about halfway done browning. You can see that there's a little bit of pink left in some of the ground beef, but a lot of it's starting to get browns. And you can also see that the vegetables are really starting to meld together nicely with the meat mixture. You can also see the juices. So some of this is the lean fat from the ground beef, but a lot of this is the moisture and the liquid being pulled out from the red pepper, from the scallions, from the celery, and it's all starting to meld together nicely. Once we get this 100% browned, we're gonna add in the soy sauce and the hoisin sauce, and that's gonna pair nicely and get it nice and liquefied so that the sauce can actually coat the vegetables and the meat. So once the ground beef mixture is browned and there's no more pink left, you're gonna add in the soy sauce. You're gonna add in the hoisin sauce. And then you're gonna add in those sliced almonds. We're putting the almonds in at this point because I don't like soggy almonds. I like my almonds to be a little al dente, but yet still have enough of a crunch when I bite into a lettuce wrap that it's not super soft and soggy. So we're gonna start mixing this all together. Again, notice that we did not drain the meats. And the reason we didn't do that is because you've got the hoisin sauce that's super sweet, and then you've got the soy sauce that's pretty salty, mixed with all of the flavor of the fat from the meat. Again, it's a lean fat, and the moisture that came out of those vegetables. So you're gonna go ahead and combine this. And again, we're on medium-high heat. And we're gonna let this boil just a little bit for about 2 to 3 minutes until the liquid starts to thicken. So now that our meat mixture is done, let's go ahead and start putting together these lettuce wraps. So what I did is I went ahead and I removed some of the leaves from the Boston lettuce, and I washed each one of them. And you can see they're like the perfect little size for lettuce wraps. So I've got my plate here with the lettuce, and I'm ready to fill them with our mixture. So I like to take a slotted spoon, mix the mixture around. Again, there's not a lot of liquid in here, but just in case you don't want juicy lettuce wraps, I like for any additional juice to not go on our lettuce wraps. So take about 1/4 cup of the mixture and you place it right in the center of the lettuce, a little bit more, and go ahead and place it on a plate. They're not gonna stay closed. You could add a toothpick if you wanted to, but kind of lay them like that to where they're a little closed. And you're gonna do that with each piece of your lettuce. Now, what I like to do is I like to use the entire head of lettuce, and then you're gonna have enough meat mixture left over that you'll be able to have some more the next day. So go ahead, get all of these filled in. These look absolutely delicious. But once you get all of your mixture into your lettuce wraps, you are ready to eat. So I'm gonna go ahead, plate one for myself. Push these aside for later, and literally wrap it up, take a bite. Absolutely delicious. Y'all, I think it's better than P.F. Chang's version. I cannot wait to hear what you think about these lettuce wraps. So make sure you leave me a comment. I love hearing from you. And like this post and share it with your friends and family, because I can guarantee you they are going to love these lettuce wraps.